All right, we're here with Let's Get It On Promotion, co-president or Tommy Lane. Terry Lane's yet to arrive Wednesday. Here at your the media workout final sparring session for two of your fighters on the card Saturday. How satisfied are you with being a promoter? You don't see them daily in the gym. How satisfied are you now seeing them, the kind of condition they're in right now?
I'm very satisfied. You know, you usually, especially in Reno, when there's not a whole lot of boxers around, it's tough to have guys in the same weight sparring with each other. But luckily enough, Oscar and Santos are close enough in weight. Alec McGee, who's fighting on the card, is close in weight, and he, good accomplished amateur. Kenny Davis, who's also an accomplished amateur, has been sparring. So there's been 4 guys and a couple others who have come, and they've gotten a lot of good work with each other. So seeing it here in the gym, I think they look great.
You seem to be back in New York more these days, but Reno is your home. When you guys started this venture, getting in the promotions, one of the things you talked to us years ago was wanting to do these kind of shows of 4- and 6-rounders for the up-and-coming local fighters. There's never really been an outlet, or hasn't been for a long time, of the local fighters. We've always been the road warriors, or fighters that have fought. And how important is it now that you see your role in getting opportunities to the local talent?
Well, we're very excited about it. We're hoping to develop this into a situation where Reno is again a town that hosts a regular series for boxing and the local boxers. For this, timing really is everything. We've been working on Oscar basically for the last 5 years, but there has been a pretty big lull in the community since Jesse Brinkley retired, and just available local fighters. And for these local shows to happen, you have to have a good crop and a good talent pool of local guys to put them on. Just the financial end of it, and the logistics, and the fact that they're going to sell more tickets, and you really need that. So we really couldn't have just done a show just with Oscar. And now, Alec and Kenny, who are both top amateurs from the area, are ready to turn pro. Santos wants to come back. And we had high expectations for him. So there is now that there's the 4 kings, or I don't know if I want to, call them that, the main 4 kings are. But, there's some potential there. So if these guys fight and keep winning, then, Reno could be a boxing town again.
What does it say, especially with Oscar's, a testament to him for he's been more inactive than he envisioned when he first turned pro. There's long periods of time between fights, but he has stayed in the gym. How much more proud of him are you that he hasn't lost hope, and he hasn't stopped working just as hard as he's always been, despite the low and the action between fights?
I'm very pleased and proud of Oscar and his dedication. While a lot of these guys are going pro and they'll be fighting in pro bouts, there's a difference between a fighter who's fighting pro and a pro fighter, a guy who's a professional. And Oscar is a real professional fighter. And he is a professional fighter because he's dedicated. He never gets out of shape. He's always in the gym, and he's always working on his craft. He went down to LA, which is in my opinion probably the best boxing community, with tons of sparring and great training. He went down there, found a way to get himself down there, and sparred with some and got some great work, and grew as a fighter from that. He's serious. He's a pro. And me seeing that dedication gives me the motivation to get him the right fights that are going to elevate him to the high end of the boxing world. So now there's pressures on us to deliver those fights, and I'm happy to take on that pressure because I know I'm dealing with a guy who's going to hold his end of the bargain up. And Oscar's a pro.
Where do you put the state of boxing now? You as a promoter, that kind of, you guys have been still trying to break through. There's been a couple of failed maybe partnerships or things that always seem promising and maybe don't fill out the full potential. How frustrating is that? And also, where do you see the state of boxing as a young promoter, still young in the business, trying to break through? Is it getting tougher and tougher?
You know, the industry's in just a really unique spot because of what's going on with the television side of things. I mean, you really can't make it a business unless you can get a really good local scene and you can constantly sell enough tickets to pay for the cost of your shows and also enough of a profit that is going to make it worthwhile for me to continue to do it. You can do that for the local shows, but those are pretty rare. Oscar and Santos and these guys, we might be able to do something like that. But so for a show without TV to support itself, those shows are tough. So typically speaking, to really make it and make, you know, a real business out of it, you got to be involved with TV. And the TV is being controlled by one individual right now, for the most part. HBO has cut their budget, so there's only, you know, the amount of HBO shows that compared to years past, I mean those are being chopped up between a handful of promoters, and they've got their guys, you know, Kovalev and GGG that they're moving, that they have to give those dates to. So HBO's harder than ever to break into. But you see Showbox, you know, they're working with other promoters. CBS Sports Network, which is not really a good deal for the promoter because the promoter is actually paying for that, paying for production and everything, and that's a tough way to make a business. But boxing's in an interesting state, but if we can, I'm looking at this from a perspective of seeing if we can build a boxing market in Reno, and keep these guys busy and build them simply off ticket sales and local companies getting behind the shows. And if we can do that, then you know you grind it out, you build them out, you build them up, and you know hopefully one of these guys breaks through to the big money.
Yep. Fighter of the Year candidate just happened with Francisco Vargas and Orlando Salido. You had Francisco Vargas in one of his early fights that you guys promoted at the here in Reno. He fought on the card. Chang Chale, the Chinese heavyweight. He was on the undercard of Andre Ward and Sullivan Barrera. His development's coming along a little bit. He showed some promise there. Any satisfaction in having helped these fighters and to see where they're at now?
No, I'm not with Zhang Zhilei. I'm not satisfied with him or the Rock Nation people or any of that. We're dealing with problems with them right now. So, you know, that's in the lawyer's hands. So, you know, we can, you know, sit at home and be pissed off about it, or we can move forward and you know, focus on the new talent and building something new.
Yeah. The Vasquez brothers, the records are 1-2 and 9-1. Santos is bouncing back and seems to be refocused and rededicated. But with Orlando Salido having performed that, a 13-loss fighter, do you think in this day and age where a loss seems to be a death sentence in the sport, do you think we're going back to just appreciating the talent of the fighters despite their records?
I hope so. I mean, that's what, you know, there's no reason, ever since it became like a must that the fighter needed to be undefeated is when, you know, potential stars got beat. The guys got discouraged because they were under the impression that that's how things, you know, work out, and you know, so I think a lot of tough fighters kind of, you know, didn't follow through with boxing after they got one loss, especially early on. So I hope that we go back to, you know, the matchup rather than matching up records. I mean, you know, it's important to some people in the business, and a lot of TV people who, you know, want to show the undefeated records. Really, they're not getting the best fight, but it's important to them sometimes. But, you know, I give, you know, props to Peter Nelson at HBO, and he saw a good fight and he put it on. But yeah, you go back for the sick fights that have happened in the past 15 years, like Ward Gotti, no, they didn't have sparkling records. I can't remember, you know, Marquez when he fought Israel Vasquez. I mean, those guys, you know, have pretty solid records, but so they had losses. And I mean, even Diego Corrales and, you know, Castillo. It's, you know, you look at other sports, as long as you have an above 500 record in baseball, you're kind of in the mix still. I wish that was more for boxing, but You never know. A lot of it also has to do with just the amount of fighters and the amount of fights out there. So, when the serious talent is.
Yeah. Your thoughts on the state of the the development of a fighter now, with the Olympic Committee having approved unanimously to have pros fight in the Olympics as early as these Olympics, but it seems like most countries already have established their Olympic teams. But for future Olympics, it looks like there could be a breakthrough of professional fighters for something that has always been the ultimate dream of the amateur fight system. Your thoughts on that decision recently by AIBA?
Well, I don't like the decision, and I think that it really disrupted a way that things had been done for. I don't know when boxing was in the Olympics, but they were one of the earlier sports, and it was always amateur. That's where Cassius Clay, Sugar Ray Leonard, Oscar De La Hoya, those are the launching pad that those guys came off of now, and you're not going to have that for those guys anymore. And there's not. I don't see the upside in having the pros fight for the Olympics. I see the downside. I see a problem where you have, a grown man fighting a little kid, even though not a younger man, a 17-year-old, is fighting, a chiseled, 30-year-old who's been in countless, gym wars, who's had countless fights, and I don't see that being a fair fight. Even though people say, well, it's 3 rounds, it's a different kind of technique, and you could actually, but leave the pros be the pros, let amateur boxing be amateur boxing. I don't think that it's going to come off very well. I'm curious to see how this all plays out. I wouldn't be surprised if it's just kind of if it falls flat on its face overall, even though it's been approved, just because there still is a professional business. There's still the business side of things, and the promoters are going to find a way to prevent their professional fighters from going off and doing things like that.
All right. Well, we followed you throughout the years. We're going to continue to follow you leading up. Any closing thoughts to the fans out there?
Well, thank you, Simon. Yeah, no, you've always been there to support us, and it means the world to us. Just if you live in the Reno area, come check out the fights. I think we have a good stable of local, talented guys who are going to carry this community, and really let's try and make Reno a boxing town again. Have another 6-7 cards a year, but got to have the people come out and support. That's for sure.
All right. Well, thanks for bringing boxing back to the area, and we look forward to future shows that we can cover.
All right. Thank you.